I guess I'm the one elected to start, so I will start, and my husband will then take up after I finish, and we'll try to be brief. If we get too long, just give us a high sign. I was born in Kearney, New Jersey, and my husband was also. I'm the youngest of three children. I have an older sister, and she was always the brilliant one. Her claim to fame was she never paid a cent of tuition, and she went off to get a PhD. So she was, as I said, she was the brilliant one. I had a brother who was kind of nerdy, loved maths and history, and was very quiet. And then I was the third one. Was sort of my parents always said it's sort of a combination of the two, or between the two. And so I was sort of normal. They were very happy to have me, the normal one. My mother was she was a stay-at-home mom till I was a teenager, and then she went to work mainly because for my sister to go to college, she felt she had to have some money, and my father was a postman in the post office for his whole life. I grew up in Kearney, New Jersey. It was a Scottish town, and it was just a wonderful place to grow up. It was a very safe, familiar town. My father was one of 6 boys, the McFadden boys, and they ran the town. I had an uncle who was the mayor, an uncle who was head of the police department, an uncle who took all the pictures for the whole community, on and went. So it was a very safe place to grow up, and a very warm and friendly place to grow up. On the other hand, I couldn't get away with anything, because I knew if I misbehaved, it would be in the local paper, which, by the way, our weekly paper was the Observer. So, which I tell David Beliles all the time, who's our neighbor, and as you know, it's part of the Observer connection here. I played piano, and my parents had great plans for me to be the next Dan Clyburn. Unfortunately, that didn't work out, but I was an honors student at Juilliard through high school, and was in a program that we went to New York City once a month. We performed in the morning, and we got graded, and they critiqued us, and we went through some classes, and then we were supposed to stay around the afternoon and listen to all the recitals, which of course was wonderful, but we were a bunch of high school kids over in New York City on our own on Saturday afternoons, so we ran around the city and had a wonderful time. But I met Ed when I was a senior in high school, actually. He was in college by then. And we married when I went to nursing school right after high school, and we got married when I was in my second year. We were trying to figure this all out, after a long time. Forget the dates. And Ed he had just graduated, we got married, and he had just graduated from the New Jersey Institute of Technology as an engineer, and was immediately taken into the Air Force because it was during the Korean War. But they sent him, his first assignment was to go to New York University in New York City to become a meteorologist. So he went immediately there. I was still in school, so fortunately I went to the New York University Hospital in New York City for a pediatric affiliation. He was going to NYU, so we were both in New York City, and I had an aunt who had a brownstone in Brooklyn, New York. So we lived in Brooklyn for a while, which was really kind of fun. We had a good time. My husband didn't wear his uniform very often, but he always wore it when we went to the movies because he got in. We didn't have much money, so it was fun. We decided we wanted to go to graduate school. By that time, I was finished with my nursing program, and so we bought a house trailer, 31-foot house trailer, and we pulled it from New Jersey to Indiana University, and that was a story and a half. About several months later, I read an article say that pulling a house trailer with a Plymouth is not a good idea. It's underperforming or something. Underpowered. Well, we pulled it with a Plymouth. So anyway, so Ed was going for his MBA because he wanted to switch more to marketing, and I wanted to teach student nurses. So I was going for my bachelor's in nursing education at the time. That's the way they did it. And when Ed finished his MBA and I finished my schooling, he took a job with Dow Chemical Company, because by that time we decided we liked living in the Midwest. We wanted not to go back to living on the East Coast. Different kind of pace of life. And since I have a type A husband, I thought that would be a good idea. He was sent to, his first assignment after sales training was sent to Buffalo, New York. I know, so I said it was not a good weather decision. I said I couldn't believe that we came from Midland, Michigan, and we went to worse weather. Everybody's going to better weather. I got a job teaching student nurses at Buffalo Hospital, which was part of the university, and had a student nurse program. And Ed, as I said, was a salesman. We had a very nice time in Buffalo. And then we decided, as I said, to go to Carmel, Indiana. To Indiana University. And then after he went with Dow Chemical after graduate school, then he went back to Midland. Actually, Dow Chemical's headquartered in Midland, Michigan. So we moved back to Midland after his sales experience. And then the most exciting part of our lives is we moved to Tokyo, Japan after our 3 children were born. So we lived in Japan and Tokyo for 8 years. At the time, I had switched to writing, and I was writing my 15 minutes of fame. I had 3 weekly newspaper columns in Japan, in Tokyo, with my picture in them, and there were very few blonde, blue-eyed pictures of people in any of the Japanese papers, so I stood out. They were all in English, by the way. There was a trivia question that I obviously don't know the answer to, which is, what major country's capital in the world has the most English language daily newspapers? And the answer is Tokyo. So I was in the Japan Times. I had a Japanese partner, and we wrote a column called Business, In and Out of Business, which was about business and being cross-cultural. And then had a medical column in the Daily Yomiuri, and also the Tokyo Weekender, which was for expats in Japan. And that was my sort of big major medical column. And in Japan, I joined 2 other women. We started a small company called Oak Associates, which was to orient people in Japan, coming into Japan, about the culture. And then we also had a contract with Canon, the picture people, to educate all their people it was men then, going to the U.S. in job placements. We came back to the U.S. in 1988, and I continued my writing work, and also did a lot of corporate work for Dow Chemical and Dow Corning. And then I switched more to foundation work, and I worked for the Dow Foundation, Dow Family Foundation, which was headquartered in Midland because the Dow family lived there. And I was their vice president. All the directors were family members, but I was the administrator. And that was very rewarding. I loved the Dow family. They're all wonderful, very moral, very ethical people, and wanted to do the best for the community and the best for anybody that got their grants. The grants were limited to the state of Michigan, so I don't want to take up too much time here. And I retired in 2010 when we bought a condo. We came to Longboat Key. We actually bought our we came to Longboat Key in 1980. We bought a place at the Colony, it remains the Colony, and that's what brought us down. And then later we bought in Fairway Bay in Bay Isles. I'll just finish with, we had 3 daughters. We're very proud of them. They're wonderful young women. Our oldest, Pamela, is president and CEO of Pilot Chemical Company, and she has one daughter who's in graduate school in Colorado. Our middle daughter, Cynthia, it's wonderful because many of you have met her. Her husband was transferred down here, and they live in Lakewood Ranch, which is really exciting. We said the other side of the brain. She sings, and she's a flautist, and she used to play in their orchestra, and now she teaches, but now she's mostly just doing work in churches here. Our youngest daughter, Jennifer, is an attorney who is now general counsel for her American firm in Asia, and she lives in Tokyo, which, as I said, is so much fun because when we go to Tokyo now, and we not only visit our daughter, but feel like going home again. So we have a great time. We'll be visiting her in Tokyo in April. Now, obviously, we live in Plymouth Harbor. We love, or I should say, Ed likes them too, but I'm a view nut. I love views, and we have this most spectacular view. My kids all say I have a King Kong complex. I always want to be up looking down. So we oversee everything, which is really nice. I really enjoy everybody here. We love the Mayflower dining room. One of the reasons we moved in, I said, we owned a lot of property and had several houses. I was just hearing them talk about when you have a house, it's ongoing work and responsibility. So it's nice not to have that right now, although we still do have our places. We have 2 other places, but that's all. And I'm sort of a real estate nut. I like to buy places. As I said, I buy them, but I don't sell them. So. And we enjoy the fitness center very much. That's a wonderful facility. And we like the ability to walk to St. Armand Circle. Ed is a constant. He gets down and gets us change at the bank and does all sorts of things for us. Anyway, now I'm still writing. I have a medical column that many of you know. Emily is now the person in charge that runs in the monthly in the Harbor Light magazine. So, Ed, you're on.
I was born at the beginning of the Depression and lived in Harrison. My grandmother had a house before I moved to Kearney, and during the Depression, my father's company, he didn't own it, but he was an employee, went out of business, as many did, and my mother worked for AT&T, and they had a policy of always keeping, one was out of work, they kept the other one employed. So my mother was a constant all during the Depression, which made a big difference, and I'd always been appreciative of AT&T for that. My grandmother took care of me during the day. My mother was working, and for some reason, she started me in the first grade in school at the age of 4 for one of 2 reasons. Either she thought I was smart enough, or she wanted to get me out of the house. As a result, I started at 4. I remember where I was in Pearl Harbor. I can go to number 9/11, where you were. I was in the Boy Scouts. I wanted to become a Eagle Scout, but I got the life, which is the next Eagle. And then the last man who was running the troop went off to war during World War II, and there was no one left to besides the things you needed to do, gas regulations, and so that ended my Boy Scouts, and I was always frustrated, but nothing I could do about it. But I was lucky. Both of us spent time on Jersey Shore, as they call it. My grandmother had a bungalow. I loved the water. I loved, the fishing was great then, right off the pier at the end of we're on the Seabury River, so it was wonderful. I went to NJIT, and all the time, all the schools I've been on scholarship also. So as a result, I've always felt obligated, and I have 5 endowed scholarships. went up to do, and my oldest daughter's name went to IU, and my middle daughter's name went to Georgetown, and my youngest daughter's name went to NJIT and went at Northwood. And Elise's name, because she was very active in Northwood University in Midland. So after I graduated as an engineer, was during the Korean War, and the government wanted engineers, and I was directly commissioned, which was really nice, and sent to NYU. So I became a weatherman, but when the war was over, they said you can either, now I was a reserve officer, you can stay on for longer and make your obligation, but they said if you don't sign up longer, you're out. And I didn't want to become any longer. I mean, I didn't want to make a career out of the military. But I was out, and I was honorably discharged out of the reserve as a captain in 1967. So when we came back, and they said we went to IU for me to get my MBA. I was a graduate assistant there at the GI Bill. It's probably the richest you ever learned in life, even though it's not. So, it was a great experience. We had the trailer, and we used the trailer, but then we were active in the Presbyterian Student Center, and they said, you could move into the apartment in the center. And so I was both the president and the janitor. So, I had to do myself pep process, clean it up. But anyway, and we rented the trailer out. So again, we were entrepreneurs. So then I went with Dow Chemical Company. I was so lucky. I mean, it's a small town. Started on a small radio cable blocker. It was a company with great ethics. They took water out. They used it in the chemical processing, and when they put it back in the river, it was better than when they took it out. So I went to Erie, Pennsylvania. I went to Buffalo as a salesman. My territory was Erie to Buffalo. That's a lot of territory. And then the U.S. state's a beautiful state. Albany. It's Albany, and it's Albany, thanks. I go for 400 miles. And in the summer it was beautiful, but in the winter the driving was hairy. So I figured they didn't have to pay me in the summer, and they couldn't pay me enough in the winter. I was done. Now they brought me back to Midland in construction materials, and I was responsible for styrofoam, which by the way is not those little plastic cups. Styrofoam is trademarked for a product that was primarily insulation, and I'll say more about that. But anyway, people always say styrofoam cups. It's not really styrofoam. Styrofoam is extruded flat board, uses insulation. It also uses blank. Now, then I went into consumer products, where I was in charge of new products. We started Top Vacuum Cleaner, which you better know as Gravy Bubbles. Ziploc bags I started. And a lot of people either hate me or like me. I don't know. Then Dow was in the pharmaceutical business. He was moved to Indianapolis in pharmaceuticals. Then to back to Maryland, I was director of marketing for plastics. And then in 1980, went to Japan. As vice president for the Pacific area and president of Dow Chemical Japan. I've never been to Japan. The first night I was there, I was in the Imperial Hotel, and then walked a Japanese man and his wife 2 steps behind him. And the reason I found out they're 2 steps behind because when they pulled their samurai sword, they wouldn't take his head off. That's what they told me. But anyway, so they go over, and the head guy runs over, pulls the chair out, the man sits down, and the woman pulls the chair out, and then sits down for her head. And I called my wife up, and I said, I think I'm going to like this.
And I said,
Well, anyway, one of the things I did when I was in Japan, I climbed Mount Fuji, and this is a pole. If you go from it, you get off of the 5,000 foot, and you climb to 12 or 12, and on the way up there, you can turn burn in all these stages. So that previously, Sunrise Top Mount Fuji, 1983. So I just said, well, that was done now. I have a hard time finding up to see it. But while I was in Japan, I was very active in the American Chamber of Commerce. I was on the board. I was in charge of the started a charge of the committed crime, saying that Japan was number one. They were exporting a lot to the U.S. to try to encourage more U.S. products into Japan. And it was tough. For example, they wouldn't use our skis. And the reason was, snow skis, the reason was Japanese snow was different than American. So, I mean, we had a lot of those. So it wasn't easy. But anyway, I became a vice president of the Chamber of Commerce. I have a picture of me shaking hands with President Ronald Reagan. And so I met a lot of congressmen. Those are stories in a half. But anyway, so then another point, we left in '87. The Japanese stock market peaked in 1989, probably because we left. 39,000. And I just looked, it's only at 23,000. It's never come back.
That's right.
And I was reported to the U.S. Family as vice president with the secretary of special justice and the country. One of the things I worked in my Spanish time, and I went to Habitat Humanity Board in Georgia with President Carter. I was in the same hospital at the time, for 10 houses. The first house was worked on by Terry Pond. And somebody showed up. I said, wow, President Carter? No, it was all the same time. So he was a real nice guy and his wife. So anyway, and as a result, I now consider all the controversy gas supplies and the internet started up. I started this in the U.S. So I was also when I became secretary of the board of the National Institute of Children Products in Washington, D.C. And I retired in 1993. And the first summer I haven't worked since I was retired June 30th since I was 15. And I said, wow. And in September came and I said, what do I do? And then I said, I want to work for ACW.
You said he flunked retirement.
It's never been worthwhile. I managed Church's endowment, which was endowed by the Black family, and had over $10 million. I managed the Episcopal Diocese of Eastern Michigan endowment. I was on the endowment committee of that. I was chairman there for 4 years. And I was also on the board of the Michigan Health System as 1 year affiliated with the University of Michigan, and I was on the investment committee. This is Charlie Hughes involved in all these investment after I graduated. Even though I was in Japan, Dow had did a couple of things. He had the first samurai bond issue, which was to an industrial company without collateral. In other words, it was basically money loaned down based on their ability to pay. No assets were pledged. We were the first industrial company. It had been done by a couple of, I think, Sears had done it, but the Sears had paid. Well, I was there. But a Japanese company, first time an American company had bought a Japanese company without a prior investment. We had a big investment in a company called Sandy. I was on that board, but then we sold it. But anyway, so I was also involved in a lot of in finance in a way, when I became president of Dow, and it continued on after I left. So when I was going over to Japan in 1980, I said to Elyse that I'd been here fishing. It was not a guy took us on a boat around and going through it, but so I said, go down and buy something. He bought the county, which was wonderful. It was a great tour to come back, we were living there, and so we would come back, and we could come back, and you just kind of thing. You loved it. You don't, of course, have anything to do with it now, but you always thought it was great. And we still, you had that place there. And also we had a place in Michigan that we bought back in 1964. It was the Urea cottage, and the wind blew, the curtains blew. So we took that down and built a home that you could live in the winter. And it's still there. That's what we're trying to go back in the summer. It's on the lake. And it's not on Lake Michigan, it's on Elk Lake, which is a big glacier lake. Across the city. So we think Michigan's a wonderful state, but we're now we have become residents of Florida. Just last year. All the time we went back and forth. Our home was we sold our home in Midland last 23, so we're out of Midland. Anyway, and we left a lot of, I brought this guy just, but we have a lot of Japanese stuff, and a lot of it, I was talking about the clan, and I used to write a lot of articles, and I always said, here's some of the things that we can learn from Japanese. And I always ended up as saying, don't worry because the whole family has here. It's a Japanese and that's entrepreneurs. Who said they quality control? They call quality control. What I mean by that, the Dunning Award in Japan is the most prestigious award you can get as a company, and that's Dunning who's got them quality control statistics. And but we get around, they taught us, we used to do quality control on all the ingredients, not on the finished product. So that greatly increased their chance of having good products at the end. So that's a lot of other things I could tell you about what we learned from them and what they also learned a lot from us. Of course, there was a reserve guy in Japan. He came in after the war, and he established it as a democracy. He said, you got to be civilized, not just Westerners. You got to have a men's room and a ladies' room. So we're up in the hills in Japan having lunch one day, and there's a door that says, men's room, the ladies' room. So there's a door, same place.
Any questions? Or?
You just said I know, so I bet a lot of people are wondering if you still know Japanese.
Well, I could see you, but I couldn't call it Japanese.
Ed always says, when people say, do you speak Japanese? He said, do you speak Japanese? And of course, they usually say no. He said, then I do. Because I can pull here. And I always say that the learning curve in Japanese, I worked very, very hard at it. And it's just the learning curve is very, very, very slow and tedious. The forgetting curve is linear. It's when you don't use it. And I was going back and forth for business. As I said, the world's most expensive sales call, going back from Midland, Michigan to Tokyo. But when I was first doing it, I would just say, well, maybe I should, take a book on the plane with me or something. And then I said, maybe I should start studying the weekend before. And then it was like, well, maybe I should start. So if you don't use it.
And also you don't see the words, You see the kanji, the katakana, and hiragana. You go to Europe, you see words. You see it's like the register, star, like facing in France, but over there you don't see them. You're all that little, that's all the Japanese words. Because they're hard to know that
they're hard for them to read too.
Yeah, like little fingers make a difference. Because there's two kinds, hiragana, katakana, and kanji. So, and I mix them all up, so it's not easy. And I think, as I remember, to get out of high school, you're supposed to have 2,500 of those memorized. Now, the amazing thing is our youngest daughter speaks, reads, and writes Japanese. Okay? It still blows my mind.
So, why did you choose to live in Plymouth Harbor?
As I tell all our wonderful housekeeping people, I was so delighted to have somebody else, keep the place clean and provide linens and wonderful Mayflower dining room. I really had felt like I'd done that for a long time, and I was.
We had a lot of friends here.
And we had a lot of friends here.